Hi Prof, we are Group 4 and the two companies we chose to compare are Shein and H&M. So founded in 2012, Shein is a global fashion and lifestyle e-commerce company which has the commitment to making the beauty of fashion available to all. And on the other hand, H&M is a multinational clothing company based in Sweden that focuses on fast fashion clothing for men, women, teenagers, and children. And because these two both operate in fast fashion and are similar in terms of size and geographical scale, we find it appropriate to compare these two companies. And we'll be doing an ethical audit based on the dimensions of environmental sustainability, marketing practices, and labor practices.
Thank you, Dom. Now I'll be talking about the environmental sustainability of our two companies. First, starting with H&M. They are trying to reduce their greenhouse gas emission. H&M produced 22% absolute reduction in Scope 1 and 2 carbon emission and 9% reduction in Scope 3 emission. So they've been declaring a lot of concrete goals about how they will reduce carbon emission. The following are the policies that they have put forward. And moving on to sustainable sourcing, H&M declared commitment to sourcing of raw materials in a responsible and sustainable way. And their policy includes not accepting angora or hair for animals reared in cages for their hair, such as rabbit, raccoon, and fox. Also, they will only accept leather from cow, buffalo, sheep, and goat. And no wood or forest products from ancient or endangered species will be used. Lastly, I'll be talking about the Green Machine, which is a new technology that H&M is now pouring $100 million into. It will allow consumers to recycle clothes the same way that we recycle Coke cans. However, it should be noted that even if the technology is proven to be effective, it will take years for this to take place. On the flip side, it should also be taken note that H&M was burning clothes that were as good as new, and they were burning up to 12 tons or $4.1 billion worth of clothes every year. The company was also filed for a lawsuit in 2021 for greenwashing and false advertisement. Now moving on to Shein. What makes Shein so successful is also what makes them unsustainable. The most significant success factors of Shein is their low pricing and optimization of supply chain. So they're able to instantly detect what their popular items are, and they pump out 2,000 to 10,000 styles to its app every day. As you can imagine, what makes Shein so successful is also what makes them unsustainable. So according to a source, Shein has been emitting 6.3 million tons of carbon dioxide, which is the same amount as approximately 180 coal power plants. Now moving on to the resale platform, they launched a resale platform highlighting the environmental benefits. However, this platform was met with criticism from sustainability experts, saying that it's not enough to undo the exploitation of resources and overproduction. Also, they say that the true motive is to only bring back second-hand Shein sales into its ecosystem. I think the biggest criticism for Shein is their lack of clear numbers. They fail to provide real data for goals in the future for environmental sustainability. They insist that they minimize impact by creating goods in small quantity, but given that they produce thousands of styles every week, this will amount to hundreds of thousands of garments. So who's more ethical? We believe that H&M is currently the more environmentally ethical company, as they set more actionable goals and transparently measure and report on their impact.
Now, we shall move on to the marketing dimensions. The first point under this dimension is the methods of promotion. We shall start with evaluating H&M first. H&M uses a combination of traditional and digital methods of promotion, from billboards and displays to video advertisements. These are all regulated under H&M internal guidelines and procedures, and all of their marketing materials are produced in-house. These internal guidelines establish the way H&M treats its workers and ensure the portrayal of the people in any promotional material are not derogatory in any way but positive and healthy. Shein, on the other hand, relies on social media marketing and user-generated content. A large part of Shein's marketing is not created by Shein themselves, but by influencers, specifically micro-influencers. Though social media marketing is a valid marketing strategy, where the ethical issues lies is in the possibly exploitative nature of this strategy. Shein has no marketing policy on its website, and claims from sources such as the Financial Diet states that some influencers are not even paid or sponsored by Shein to promote their products. Hence, in their methods of promotion, Shein is less ethical than H&M.
The second point under this dimension is brand promise. The brand promise is the experience and values that consumers can expect from a brand. H&M states that they are dedicated to doing business the H&M way, ethically, responsibly, sustainably, and transparently. H&M has put forward many initiatives that align with this promise, including the launch of the Conscious Collection in 2010. However, H&M's Conscious Collection was found to be using materials that were no more or even less sustainable than their main collection. By labeling these products as conscious, H&M is intentionally misleading the consumer, thus breaking their brand promise. Shein, on the other hand, promises to make fashion accessible to all and to empower everyone to express their individuality. This is seen in their efforts to offer a wide range of styles and sizes. However, the way that plus size clothing is advertised differs greatly from other clothing sizes. Earlier this year, a pair of tights for plus size women were advertised together with a 5-gallon water jug. Compared to the marketing of tights for smaller sizes, this portrays plus size clothing in an unflattering and inappropriate manner and goes against Shein's promise to empower their consumers. Both brands are equally unethical by breaking their brand promise to consumers, but H&M's regulatory guidelines promote fairness and safety when making promotional material, whereas Shein has no marketing policies to speak of. Hence, H&M is more ethical in the marketing practices dimension.
Now let's take a look at Shein and H&M from a labor practice point of view. For H&M, we'll be looking at a sequence of events that happened from 2013 all the way to 2021. In 2013, there was the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh, which led to the emergence of the Bangladesh Accord to Fire and Building Safety Agreement, which is a legally binding agreement to ensure workplace safety for garment factories in Bangladesh, to which H&M signed. H&M also started the Fair Living Wage strategy in order to help workers earn a living wage by 2018. However, from 2015 to 2018, a bunch of human rights and labor abuses were reported in H&M factories. For starters, as of 2015, Bangladeshi garment workers were still found to be working in factories that did not have fire exits. Moreover, there were reports of a failure of paying workers a living wage in countries such as Cambodia, India, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Excessive long working hours as well as gender-based discrimination were common in these factories as well. This prompted the emergence of the Turnaround H&M campaign created by Clean Clothes Campaign in order to prompt H&M to be more accountable for their actions. Fast forward to 2021, under the sustainability disclosure by H&M further emphasized their commitment to ensuring fair jobs in the supply chain through the 9 factors shown on the screen. Now the question is, will they actually do it? All eyes are on them, and transparency is even more crucial for H&M now.
Moving on to Shein. In the documentary, there were poor working conditions and compensation, with workers being severely underpaid and pressured to work long hours with few to no rest days. There were also other common findings where employees were working excessive hours, which goes against Chinese labor law and Shein's code of conduct. In addition, their working environment also failed to comply with basic safety standards, with hazardous issues like having no emergency exits that can have fatal implications. However, Shein does address the larger controversies like the documentary by committing $15 million to improve labor standards and also launching an internal investigation where they acknowledge the violations of working hours and have since taken corrective actions but have not provided definitive updates on the situation. Now, in terms of transparency, Shein has disclosed that over 83% of their suppliers have major violations in their factories, such as fire and emergency preparedness, working hours, and many others. Now, for further comparison, we refer to the Fashion Transparency Index, where brands are reviewed based on their disclosure of human rights and environmental practices, and we will also focus on supply chain traceability as it correlates to workers and labor conditions. So we see that in both indexes, H&M far exceeded Shein in transparency, and therefore we feel that H&M is also more ethical in terms of overall labor practices.
Now, we will analyze sincerity of the two companies while also looking at key insights and recommendations. So the other cultural dimension we chose was cultural sensitivity. And on July 3rd, 2020, Shein was discovered to be selling Islamic prayer mats labeled as Greek fret carpets or decorative mats. And these mats feature symbols common on prayer rags that are modeled after a niche in the wall of a mosque that points to Mecca. So Shein later apologized on his social media, saying that they would vow to do a much better job in educating themselves on different cultures. But a week later, on July 9th, SHEIN was found to be selling swastika pendants, which were not clearly marked as Buddhist swastikas. And they're also found to be selling Allah necklaces as part of a fashion pack. So our group believes that this continued lapse of judgment shows their insincerity in their apologies and failure to work on their internal structures. And our recommendation is that since they pump out so many designs per week, they should work on their internal processes to flag out such issues by leveraging trained AI models to vet designs for such cultural insensitivities. But H&M is also no stranger to allegations of cultural appropriation. In 2018, they came under fire for an ad that featured a black child donning a sweatshirt with the words "coolest monkey in the jungle" etched on the front. And in response, H&M apologized for the ad and hired a head of diversity who would be responsible for creating and executing global diversity strategies and frameworks. And we think that, given the lack of blunders since this incident, it points to H&M's testament to becoming more culturally sensitive. And therefore, in conclusion, based on these 4 metrics, our group thinks that H&M is more ethical compared to SHEIN. Thank you, Prof.